Hello, I am the Understudy, and this is the channel where we discuss everything musical theater related. Today we are reading Barron's AP Music Theory, 3rd edition by Nancy Fuller-Scoggin, BME. This is a long and extensive book, and I'm working my way through it to learn more. These videos are a way for me to organize my own journey, but I'm happy that you're here with me. And before we start, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. And let's go on to part 18, Strategies for Multiple Choice, Part A. So, developing your listening skills. The Part A portion of the Music Theory AP exam is a daunting process at the very least. The prime objective for theory students is to combine theory fundamentals and oral skills training by listening to a piece of music and answering questions regardless of the basic elements of the music they are hearing in real time. To some students, it seems an impossible task to hear it all when it goes by so fast with so few times to listen to the example. Contextual listening is a process of connecting all the dots and using all the tools you have available to match what the ear hears and the brain identifies. Contextual listening is a skill that musicians work on throughout their entire careers. Mastery is not expected after 1 year of study. Don't get frustrated and stop listening. Listen smart and with a plan. The basic elements of music, such as pitch, duration, timbre, texture, form, melody, harmony, and cadences, are found in every piece of music. The music is in your band, choir, or orchestra class, the music on the radio or on your phone or tablet all have these elements, and therefore provide you with many opportunities to develop your listening skill. What else can you do to develop your listening skills? When you listen to music, tap the beat, determine the rhythm meter, try conducting to confirm your answer, not during the exam, and consider what particular rhythm might look like. Is there a repetition of the rhythm? Listen for same and different. This is the big thing. All music is about same and different. And if it is different, how is it different? For example, what changes in the second phrase and what is the same? Name the instruments that are playing and notice when instrumentation or tessitura changes. Identify the performance elements such as tempo, dynamics, retardando and crescendo, articulation, ornaments such as grace notes and trills. Sing-alongs. Sing the melody, sing the bass line, sing the root of the harmony, use solfege. Does this melody have an anacrusis? Identify the scale degrees of the opening or closing few notes of a melody of bass line. If nothing else, sing do. Listen for compositional elements like scale patterns, arpeggiated or broken chords, or Alberti bass. Determine the overall modality. Is it major or minor? Does it modulate? Identify lengths of phrases and the cadence types at the end of each phrase. Listen to music for the purpose of identifying elements. Today, we often have music playing all the time, so it becomes background noise. Bring it to the front. Take notice. Focus your attention on details. Don't be a passive listener. Expand your normal listening habits. Have you ever listened to a string quartet, a piano etude, opera aria, or an oboe solo? To gain listening skills for the AP exam, you must expand and vary your repertoire or playlist. Develop an oral memory. There is a certain amount of must-have information that needs to be stored and easily, confidently retrieved. Many students find that they can listen in units or chunks of sound rather than note by note or one interval or chord at the same time. By this, I mean have a working knowledge of these chunks of oral elements. So major and minor scales, scale patterns and arpeggios, ascending and descending. Melodic patterns. Refer back to the top 10 melodic patterns from chapter 4. Cadences. By whatever means you have, whether it is to play them yourself on the piano or practice with a software program or internet website, learning to identify cadences by sound is a huge advantage in the oral and free response portions of this exam. Chapter 15 will help with this. Basic chord progressions such as the tonic to the first inversion supertonic to the dominant to the tonic. With this chord progression, what would the bass line be? This is covered more in detail on chapter 20, Strategies for Harmonic Dictation. Connect the eyes and ears. Throughout this guide, we have discussed how all the processes overlap. See a melody and sing it. Hear a melody and notate it. See a bass line and create a melody. See the melody and create a bass line. It all works together. For example, when answering the first several multiple choice identification questions in Part A, the most common approach is to first analyze the answers visually and identify what you see. Then, when the oral prompt is given, match what you hear and what is written. If you were unable to identify all 4 answers before the oral prompt is given, write in the margin what you hear. Then go back when time allows and confirm the correct answer. Prepare visually, confirm orally. Now we have some tips for contextual listening. So contextual listening examples vary in length from short excerpts of 4 to 16 measures to an entire piece. So read the information about the example and note how many times the excerpt is or will be repeated. Read the questions throughout thoroughly in the silent times between questions. Here are some additional tips for contextual listening. Tip 1. Be sure to look at the terms and directions within the questions very carefully. These include best describes or includes all of the following except, ends with or begins with, lengthened by, outside voice is a very specific direction, only as in listen for the rhythm only, characterized by the use of, or the bass line of the accompaniment begins with a very specific direction, embellished with or compared to. Tip 2. Circle the important words that are relevant to answering correctly. Be proactive in answering. The questions many times will direct your ear to a specific place in the music. Phrase 2, last 3 notes, beginning progression, etc. Prepare your brain and your ear for those specific places. Questions and also answers will direct you to listen for something specific. Rhythm only, bass line, melody, timbre, texture, etc. This is critical information. These terms are clues. Use them to your advantage and stay focused on the requested task. So tip is to focus what they asked for. Don't try to see the whole forest if you only need to see the colors of the leaves. Tip question 3. Read the question twice. Tip number 4. Know how to answer the error detection question. So within part A, there are 4 questions having to do with error detection. The example will be a 2-part piano piece. The score is written correctly. However, the performance you will hear will have 4 errors in either pitch or rhythm. You will hear the example 4 times. There are several ways you can strategize to work these questions. The directions will tell you what measure contains the error. Circle the measures that contain the errors and prepare first before do the example. So what does the example tell you visually? Identify patterns you will expect to hear, such as tonic arpeggios, rhythmic patterns, or like dotted notes, ascending and descending motives, or use and placement of rests. Many students find it effective to focus on the right hand one time and the left hand the other time. If the errors are in measure 1, 3, 5, and 7, another strategy is to focus on measure 1 and 5 on the first listening and on measure 3 and 7 on the second listening. Your goal is to have 3 or 4 identified at the end of the second listening. So use the third listening to identify the remaining answer and confirm the other 3. Use the fourth listening to check your answers. Tip number 5. What do I know just by looking at the question? How much can I logically deduce before even hearing the music? There is often information revealed in 1 or 2 sentences printed before each section of questions. There is another opportunity to prepare your ear. For example, if the excerpt is an orchestral piece, would it most likely have a walking bass line? No, probably not. If the excerpt is from a jazz ensemble, then a walking bass line is very likely, as is syncopation or change of timbre. Anyways, if a question asks about the motion of the outer voices, what is the expected motion? Contrary, of course. Once again, you let your ear confirm, but at least you are thinking of what is the norm. You are actively listening and you have your brain engaged. A very common question will ask you to identify the notes using scale degrees at the beginning or the end of a phrase or section. If it is the melody, what pitches commonly end a phrase? Here is where using solfege helps identifying pitch. You must be able to sing the tonic in order to be able to determine whether the last note is tonic or not, and or how it relates to the tonic. Keep do in your ear. Meter questions are common in the multiple choice sections. There are 4 typical answers: A, 2/4, B, 4/4, C, 6 or 8, and D, 9 or 8. So what do we know by just looking at the answers? There are 2 duple meters, 1 triple meter, and 1 quadruple meter. Since there is only 1 triple meter answer, the question is significantly easier if that is the answer. It is highly unlikely that it would be the 2/4 or 4/4 because they are so similar. But 2 over 4 and 6 over 8 would require knowing not only the grouping of the beats, but also the division of the beats. Now you are prepared to listen. In many of the multiple choice questions, one answer is correct, two answers are close to the answer, and one answer is far away from the correct answer. Sometimes an answer is not even possible. For example, when asked to identify that structure in phrase 1 and 2 form, the answer cannot be parallel double period. A double period requires 4 phrases. Remember, the more you can eliminate, the closer you are to answering or even guessing correctly. How are the answers same or different, particularly with questions about the progression? There are usually two answers that are similar to each other. So listen to the bass. Chord progressions tell you what note is in the bass. Figure out the solfege for the bass line of each multiple choice answer. On the first listening, you should be able to eliminate two of the answers. Two may start with one tonic dominant dominant tonic dominant to tonic, and two start with the tonic subdominant dominant. Sometimes it is the ending that help you discriminate between the progression answers because endings imply cadences. Look for something that you can identify orally. Perhaps the last two notes are T do. The first two notes are a minor third apart. The beginning is chromatic, or the ending is a melodic minor pattern. Prepare visually, listen for something, and confirm orally. Tip number 6. Fill in the answers from multiple choice questions as you go along, not at the end. Many states have standardized testing that students prepare for diligently in public school. The questions are multiple choice, and a bubble sheet is used for the answers. For most states, these standardized tests are not timed, and many teachers practice a strategy of answering all the questions first, then filling in the answer sheet at the end. Do not do this on the AP exam. There is a time limit on each portion of the exam, and the clock should be visible to all students during the exam. It is better to run out of time with three more questions to answer than to run out of time with all the questions answered but only hand transferred to the answer sheet. Tip 7. To guess or not to guess? That is a good question. Total scores on the multiple choice sections are based on the number of questions answered correctly. Points are not deducted for incorrect answers, and no points are awarded for blank answers. Therefore, if you are not sure, guess. It is not always about knowing the correct answer. Sometimes we can arrive at the correct answer by eliminating the answers we know are wrong, leaving us with fewer choices. The next part of this chapter features a multiple choice question based on oral prompts. You have been doing these types of questions all along in oral units, but here we have added tips and strategies to maximize your success with Part A, multiple choice, including contextual listening. We begin with several examples of oral identification similar to what would be on the AP exam. This you can find in my upcoming quiz section. Thank you. Oh, and that is it for this section for strategies of multiple choice part A. So thank you so much for watching. If you like what you see, leave a comment, maybe a thumbs up as well, and post any questions that you have down below, and I will make sure to make a video or to explain it for you. I think that's it. If you want to leave a comment of something weird, like what is your wait, no, just leave the word cadence or something musical theater. Just leave a random word. I think that would be pretty funny. So yeah, thank you so much for watching and have a good time. And I'll see you in the next one.